All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over the individual chapters from the online PDF book AppInventor2, Create Your Own Android Apps by Wolber, Abelson, Spertus, and Looney. So far, we've gone through Chapter 1, Hello Purr, and I still had a problem for some reason getting the sound to work on that. Paint Pot, which worked just fine. Mole Mash, which worked just fine. No texting while driving, which appears to work, but at the same time, I didn't have a phone hooked up, so. And Ladybug Chase, and as you can see with the Ladybug Chase, it's what I have to do is go back and check my code because everything's here, but I can't move the Ladybug and I can't move the frog. And the aphid is really the only thing that's moving unless I restart. Okay, so we're going to now try to go into Chapter 6, which is a fairly short chapter, and it's called ParisMapTour. And as mentioned right here, what we go over in this one is we create a tour guide map for Paris. Now, these apps are designed to be extensible. So the idea is you learn how to create this tour guide map for a trip to Paris, but eventually it could be a map for a school or a map for, your place of work or whatever. All right. So as it says, App Inventor provides two high-level components to help with this. The Activity Starter, which makes it possible to launch an app from your app, including Google Maps, and the Web Viewer. So the first time what we'll look at is how to have any web page show up right inside of App Inventor. So they talk about both of these, and we built two different versions of this tour guide program. That said, as you can see with 14 pages, it is a short chapter. All right, so what do we learn in here? The Activity Starter component for launching another Android app from your app, the Web Viewer component for showing web pages within an app, how to use list variables, and a list is at least somewhat comparable to an array, okay? And a list picker component to give the user the ability to choose from a list of locations. Finally, how to build a URL dynamically to show different maps. So this is what we're going to create. We want to come in and create a new project called ParisMapTour. That's what I'm going to do right now. All right, the user interface, as it says, will have an image component on it with a picture of Paris, that's here, a label component with some text, and it says here, discover Paris with your Android, a list picker component with an associated button, choose your Paris destination, and in the first version, as it says, an activity starter, which is one of our non-visible components. So, we'll need these components that are shown right here. So let's go in and we'll add an image component, a label, a list picker, and an activity starter. And this will be interesting for me too because I've done very little work so far with the list picker. So come in here and we'll grab an image component. And a label. Right underneath the label, you see the list picker. All right. And then finally, an activity starter. Not sure where that is, but we'll look. There we go. It's under connectivity. And since that's a non-visible component, it appears down here. So we built our interface. We've got it prettied up a little bit, but let's see, the image is image 1, the label is label 1, so we don't have to change, I don't believe, any of these names. Image 1, label 1, list picker 1, and activity starter 1, so that's fine. All right, so setting the properties of the activity starter. Notice here, activity starter is a component with which you can launch any Android app, including Google Maps, from one of your own apps. We'll first build the ParisMapTour so that the Maps application is launched to show a particular map based on the user's choice. The user can then tap the back button to return to the app and choose a different destination. All right, it's a relatively low-level component, and we need to set some properties. Okay, it says they're familiar to the Java Android SDK programmer, so if you've done any work programming actual Android apps, all right, not using AppInventor, but using Java, this shouldn't be that unfamiliar to you. So as it says, we have to enter the properties specified here, but be careful, they're case sensitive. All right, so I'm just going to copy all of them. And I'm going to come over here to my activity starter. All right, and again, the first one is the action. So I'm just going to paste that in. The second one is the activity class. And again, I'll paste that in. And the last one is the activity package. And once again, I will paste that in. All right. So, as mentioned here, in the blocks editor, we'll set one more property, which is the data URI. Notice it's not URL, it's URI. URI is a uniform resource indicator. It's kind of a superset of which a URL is a subset. The URI, as mentioned there, allows you to provide a URL to launch a specific map in Google Maps. The property must be set in the blocks editor because it needs to be dynamic. It'll change based on one of three values that we're going to put in: the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, or the Notre Dame Cathedral. So, it says before we get to the blocks editor, a couple more details. We want to download the metro.jpg file, all right, into our project. And I'm not sure where that is. Usually they have a hyperlink to it. I'm going to pause for a second and see if I can find the metro.jpg file, so I will be right back. All right, and I'm back. After a little bit of searching, I found http://www.inventor.org/bookfiles. And for Chapter 6, there's the Metro JPEG. I've already saved it to my desktop. But what's nice about this is the AIA are the AppInventor app files, so you have the finished version if you go out here. So I can bring up the finished version later, hopefully, if I can't get the Hello Per to work, and or the no texting while driving, or the ladybug chase, or whatever. But they're all in here. So this is what we have left. All right. Okay, so jumping back in. Download it to our project. We've done that. We want to set it as the picture for our image 1. So let's do that. Whoop. Close that for now. Remember, we have to upload the file. Choose the file. I like to just throw it all up on top of my desktop, which makes it easier to find. There that is. Okay. Set the picture set as the picture property. We've done that. The list picker component comes with a button. When the user clicks it, the choices are listed. Set the text of that button by changing the text property to choose Paris destination. Now we're going to have to change the size of this, it looks like. And you can see we've changed that. Okay. What I'm going to do, excuse me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab, right now this is set to automatic, I believe. So I'm going to set the, at least the width, I'm going to try to set it to fill parent to see if that looks a little better. There we go. I think that's a little bit nicer. And let's see if we do the height to fill parent also. Okay, I think that's better. All right, we can always change it back again if we need to later. So, adding behaviors to components. In the blocks editor, we will need to define a list of destinations and 2 behaviors. When the app begins, we will want to load the destinations into the list picker so the user has one of those three to choose from. When the user chooses a destination from the list picker, the Maps application should be launched automatically, and a map of the destination that they picked should be chosen. In this first version, as it says, we'll just open Maps and instruct it to run a search for the chosen destination. So we're going to come up here and we're going to create a variable. You know how to do that already. We're going to go into our blocks editor, and the variable we're supposed to create the list of Paris destinations. Blocks for creating. Okay. Destinations is going to be the name of our variable, and that will have, as it says, a list of destinations in it. So we're going to come to variables, initialize variable with a name to destinations. All right. I'm not going to worry about what to set it to because we'll probably be told that. All right. From the lists drawer, we want make a list, as it says. All right. And I think that's probably what we're going to initialize this to. And we're going to have three texts in there. Tour Eiffel, however you pronounce that, Musée des Louvre, and Cathédrale Notre Dame. So we're going to put those in. It says when you drag to make a list block, you have only two variables. You add another by clicking the dark blue icon and adding a third item. So there's the dark blue icon, and we want to add another item. All right, so there's our three. I'm going to just come in here and grab three components, and I'm going to duplicate it twice. All right, so we've got that. And then go back and put in this for our text. Guess I don't need the double quotes. There is the Eiffel Tower. There will be the Louvre. And the last one, which is the Notre Dame Cathedral, Notre Dame, however you pronounce that. All right, so we've got all that, I believe, set up correctly. So we did that, so let's check. Looks good to me. All right, the list you just defined does not appear in the user interface. No variables do. You'll use a list picker component to display the list of items for the user to choose from. You preload the choices into the list picker by setting the property elements to a list. For this app, you'll want to set the elements property for the list picker to the destinations list you just created. Because this only needs to be done once, you define the behavior in your screen initialize event. The blocks you'll need to do that are shown here. All right, so the initialize, which is called screen 1, remember, initialize is automatically triggered when the app starts. The list picker 1.elements, we're going to set that to the list we want to appear, and the global destination will be our list of destinations. So when the screen is initialized, we're setting that list picker to those three choices that we just put in other words. So we'll bring up our screen 1 initialize. And we want to set the list picker elements. And we want to set that to get global destinations. Okay. All right. Click Connect and set up live testing with your device or emulator, then click the button named Choose Paris Destination. The list picker should appear with the 3 items. At this point, nothing should happen because we haven't told it to literally do anything yet. All right, so there's our stuff. List picker is not appearing though, at least as far as I can see. Everything though appears here to be set up correctly, as far as I can tell. I might be getting a reset here on my, in fact, I'm going to force one. So I'm going to come in here and do a connect, reset connection, and then wait about 15 seconds and do another connect through the emulator. And you know, if you've been watching these lectures, that this can take a couple minutes to come back up. And for the emulator to basically reset itself. While that's happening, let's take a look. Again, the Screen 1 initialize event is triggered when the app begins. We should now be able to click Connect and set up the live testing with our device or emulator. All right. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly back up for a second. And that's supposed to say Discover Paris with your Android. So I'm going to change that so in just a minute that's what it says. All right. We're just about finished with this part because it says next you'll program the app so when the user chooses one of the destinations, the starter will launch Google Maps. But I'm already getting long on this. This is at 17 minutes, so I'm going to put that into the next part. I was hoping this would come up. There we go. That's what we wanted to see. All right, and that's good. Now nothing will happen if we click those right now. So this was, sorry. Discover Paris with your Android. So I'm going to quickly change that. And then we'll go back and we'll start the second part. So this is Discover Paris with your Android. It was blue in color. Bolded. We can make it bigger. We'll make it about 20 points. Text color. There we go. We want that to be blue. Let's have the width be fill parent, and let's have the text alignment be centered. There. In fact, while we're at it, not that we have to do this, but let's do the same kind of thing. Let's make the width of our button fill parent, and we'll bold the text on our button, and we'll make that a little bit bigger also. All right, it's coming together. We'll continue this in the second part of the lecture momentarily.